is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Those who take part in sport understand the closeness that comes with competition, and racing is no different. It's hard to describe to an outsider how we can simultaneously be hell-bent on beating those around us day in and day out, and yet feel the utmost fondness and extend the greatest kindness to those same people outside of the car. David Cater exemplified this beautiful and strange dichotomy that makes up a great many racing driver. A fierce but fair competitor on track, and yet a beloved figure, cherished and respected by his peers as a friend and a mentor. Today, we try our best to bring that memory to the forefront so that more could get to know the type of man he was, but also to help aid in the mourning with those mourning at his loss. And while we could carry on in somber tones, I think with a race getting ready to be held, David would want every competitor to get out there and have as much fun as he did every time he got in the car. So let's go racing. It's David Cater's final drive, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, it's fitting that we hold this race at Chicagoland. It's a unique track holding a race in memory of a unique individual.
Yeah, Joe, it really is, you know, and Chicagoland, it has its own story. I mean, despite being one of the newer tracks in the U.S., only about 17 years old, back on the tail end of the big track boom in the 90s and the early 2000s. 1.5 miles in length if you ask NASCAR. If you ask IndyCar, it's 1.52 miles, and I guess they did that because they needed the 2 extra hundredths of a mile to have the closest IndyCar finish here ever. So that's one thing to look for here. Of course, it is a tri-oval shape, but you notice that backstretch really kind of curved. And, well, that could be some interesting things on the backstretch here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a lap around Chicagoland Speedway.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the Chicagoland Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet SS. Chicagoland is a 1.5 mile oval The surface is worn out, and it gives you a lot of places to run. So here we go for your hot lap across the start-finish line, aiming for turn 1. Let it go down to the bottom, 203 miles an hour. Let it rotate the bottom right here, and then you're going to want to pick up the gas and drive it pretty much straight out to this wall to try to maximize your run. Now, if you notice, this backstretch isn't exactly a straight backstretch. It angles just a little bit, but down into turn 3, find that white line here on the bottom of the track. About 3/4 back into the gas, and then all the way back into the gas coming out of the corner. For your hot lap, you're probably going to see guys run all the way on the apron here, down across that line. No banking down there, so it's a little tricky. As the tires move on, Chicagoland gives you options. You can run right up here in this probably 3rd groove, if you split it up by the seams, straight off of the corner, a little squirrely on exit, but nothing you can't handle in the driver's seat. Down into turn 3, pretty much going to be the same story. You might see guys rock the 2nd groove, but the apex of the corner isn't set up to give you a very comfortable feeling, but still straight out of the corner, got to turn 4, and then here we go across the line. That's going to complete our lap guide here around the Chicagoland Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet SS. I'm Brian Yazik. Enjoy the show.
There you see a couple laps around Chicagoland Speedway. We'll be doing plenty of them today. In fact, to find out just how many, why don't we go back to Adam once more as he'll tell us about the race details.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exciting one here for today. I mean, we're going to go 201 miles here for today, and that equates to 134 laps around Chicagoland. We're riding those NASCAR Gen 6 machines, and you'll see all four of them out here today, including both of the Chevys, the old SS and the new Camaro. If you haven't seen too many races with the Camaro here just yet, they do have the Fusion and the Camry. They will be using David's final Chicago set, so this is going to be a fixed setup race. And of course, we got to remember what this is for, and that's raising money for the Cater family and trying to help them out in their time of need after the loss of David. And the GoFundMe link is going to be in the description of the video you're watching right now. So whether it be $1, $10, $20, every little bit's going to help them out. So I highly encourage people to go hit that up, and that is in the description. Once again, the YouTube video below, if you see the button that says show more, hit that, it'll give it to you.
Absolutely. Definitely encourage everybody to go and do what they can to help out with David Cater's family. And I can tell you that every driver who is racing here today, they asked them to donate in order to make it into the race. So not only has everyone who is here donated, but I saw a number of drivers before this race finally happened here that donated, even though they did not intend to race. So this community really has come together. And it's not just this community of drivers, but also David's team, which feels this loss really, really hard. And they've prepared a statement that I'm going to read for you now that they've asked us to put out. It says, "How does one measure a man? How do we define a legacy? How can you describe a legend? Many, if not all, iRacers participating in the open setup world at some point or another came across video posts, helpful conversations, emails, and practice sessions with David Cater. All of those serve to make each of us a little bit better at our craft, one patient answer at a time. How does one measure a man? A pillar, a backbone to the iRacing community since its beginning, David Cater is immeasurable. How do we define a legacy? All one needs to do is watch a race or a practice where open setups are involved, and they will find David Cater's legacy. His fingerprints are all over the iRacing open setup community. Some of them big, some of them small, but most of them big. How can you describe a legend? David Cater was kind, patient, passionate, selfless, and a leader. He was fiercely competitive and just as fiercely loyal. He made everyone around him better. David was willing to listen and willing to help at the drop of a hat. The list grows and grows. So how can you describe a legend? David Cater meant something to each of us. We all describe him uniquely. David will be greatly missed by family, friends, teammates, and competitors, all striving to hit the bar he set so humbly. Rest and race in peace, Mr. Cater, from Lowline Racing and Randall Falks Racing. And in line with the thought that we all describe David uniquely, because I did not know him closely myself, I've pulled together words from the iRacing community to share throughout this broadcast. It's a smattering of thoughts, memories, and thank yous from various members, and I hope it helps everyone watching this understand how important he was to so many. So we're looking forward to getting to share that with everyone. But with that said, we do have a race. We keep mentioning it, and I'm sure David would want us to get to the racing here. So let's talk a little bit about this. We've said it's open, or not open setup, it's fixed setup. It's David's setup out here, Adam. And the drivers have been talking a little bit about it. He said he tended to like it a little bit understeery, a little bit tight around here. So what does that mean at a track like Chicagoland?
Well, that means you have to take care of tires. Tires are going to be a very big, important part here for today. Seeing a lot of guys really pushing, particularly out of turn 4. And I think with that kind of understeery type of setup, and that's going to be a place that, especially if you're going to be running side by side, you're going to have to try to make sure you're not going to push up into the car next to you. So that'll be something to watch out for. I think that'll be a big trouble spot. Back straightaway does kind of open up. I feel, at least when I'm driving, I feel like it opens up a little bit when you come out of turn 2. So I don't think we're going to have too many problems there, but I think turn 4 will be one area to watch out for sure here for today, Joe.
Undoubtedly, and we've got a pretty full field out here. I believe we're going to have 30 plus cars take the green, and they've actually got 2 splits running. I was told 70 total have signed up. I'm not sure if everybody was able to make it to the grid today, as this was slightly last minute, so some drivers did have unexpected things come up, and they weren't able to get out here today. Of course, they send their condolences and best wishes as well, as we watch the 83 work his way around, of course. And if you're interested in watching that second split, that is PTR TV who are covering that as well. So a big thank you to them down there covering the second split, and a big thank you to all the drivers that came in and wanted to drive, even if they couldn't get to be up here in the top split. Most of these cars are essentially just warming up at this point, as it was a 2-lap qualifying. The warm-up has been happening for quite a while, and these are just cars who have finished their 2 laps and are just trying to get a little bit extra time, try and get that edge, because again, there are prizes on the line, although most of the drivers have said they do intend to give any of the prize money back to the Cater family, just as a sentiment of they feel that it's best served going to them. But there's pride as well out here today, Adam. I mean, what does any racer want more than to get a win, no matter what race it is?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all racers at heart. I mean, David was a racer. He knows the drill. I mean, even in the real world, when there is, these memorial races or races put on in memory of somebody, they're still racing to be done. And a lot of times, I personally feel like these type of races will be the ones that bring out the best in people. Everybody knows what they're out here for. They're out here for David. They're out here for his family. And they want to put on a good, hard show for everybody. And so you might see some fenders getting rubbed. You might see, maybe a few bump and runs, stuff like that. And everybody's going to be okay with it, because it is fun racing. Everybody's out here to try to have fun, because that's what David would want them to do. He would want them to have fun. Everybody I know that has met David, that has talked to David, I never personally got the chance to meet or talk to David, but I know several guys that have, and they always told me just how humble and nice of a guy he was, and he'd want to be out here with him, I guarantee it.
Absolutely. We've got about a minute and a half left here, and we do have some pace laps to go through, including a special tribute that the drivers are going to do once they get out there for the pace laps. But so that we've got some time, I do want to share one of the stories that I've got. This is what one of his teammates, Jeremy Davis, wrote this of David. He said, "I had the opportunity to work with him directly as my crew chief in the last 2 races of this pro season. And I can tell you it was a complete honor to have him on the pit box calling the race. Not only was he great at what he did, but we all had a great time being around him. He was a sim racing ambassador, and his knowledge was extremely valuable. I could really tell he loved working on setups and sim racing in general. I think that goes to show how important David really was to the sim racing community." Big thanks to Jeremy for typing that one out and giving us another of those great views of what David has done. As we get a glance at the track, and it is currently 4:09 in the afternoon, virtual standard time. So the weather right now is looking a little bit warm on track, but actually pretty ideal conditions. 86 degrees on track. And I'm kind of taking your shoes here, Adam. You're usually our weatherman.
Oh, I've done enough of it the past few
Okay,
weeks.
all right. I'm happy to do it for you then. It is 65 degrees air temperature, so the virtual fans getting a nice day out in the Midwest, and very, very little breeze, so the cars shouldn't have to worry about gusts sending them out. Not even that humid out in the Midwest here, which I can tell you in the middle of a day, the day in May in Chicago, not terribly typical. I came from the Midwest myself. It should be a little bit more humid out there if they wanted to make it realistic. As well, if you enjoy oval racing, there's lots more oval racing that you can find on the iRacing Esports Network. So please, if you can, take a moment to hit the big red button that says subscribe here on IESN so that you can catch all the action. With that, qualifying is over, so let's go through our starting grid. It is going to be Casey Kerwin who will be starting on the pole, with Patrick Mallett starting in second. Row 2 has P3 being filled by William Anschoff, with Mark Nadeau starting in fourth. Todd Hendrick will be P5, and he'll be flanked by Jeff Addison in sixth. Ryan Hart starts row 4 and seventh, with James Heater in eighth and Scott Crump in ninth. Top 10 is rounded out by the number 1 of Reese Baham.
Yeah, and going back to row 6 and starting in 11th position here for tonight, we'll find Cody Griffin. Alongside him will be Bobby Childs. In row 7, Blade Witt and then Tom Hump. Patrick McDaniel and Brian Sabari will make up row 8. Row 9 is going to go to Nick Hurd and John Lopresto. And in row 10 and 19th and 20th, you find Khalil Amon. And in our pal from the Major Series, Mark Herzog.
In 21st, they've got Patrick Bayer with Jim Walton next to him in 22nd. Then it's Ian White starting 23rd. Michael Bianchini starts 24th, and he'll be followed by David Morin, who organized this whole thing. So a huge, huge thank you to David for putting this together. Kenny Lowry starts Lowry starts in 26th, with Adam Sweet starting 27th, and Jonathan Dickard 31st. I'm not sure why he is out of order there. Danny Jones, 28th. Roger E. Gregory in 29th. And Brandon Peters in 30th. So it looks like we will see 31 cars starting the race out there today. Still waiting for the pace car to take off, as we've just got a couple more drivers waiting to get out on the grid. Blade Witt, John Lopresto, Jonathan Dickert, still trying to make sure they've got everything ready. Obviously don't have to load a setup for this one. David Morin as well, waiting to make sure that we've got it all good to go. And it looks like everyone is out there, so pace car takes off for the first initial pace lap, and then the pace car will pull in, and the drivers are going to be going 3 wide in an homage to David and his family. And once the pace car pulls in, we are going to go quiet for a minute of silence in respect for David Cater. So as they work their way out of 2, you get a good glance at how the backstretch is curved around here. And as mentioned, that's going to make it a bit interesting for some of these drivers that have gotten plenty of practice out here today, but it can still throw you for a loop, or you can cut that wall a little bit too close if you try to hug the outside. The Mustang pace car now comes around towards that pit entry. You can see most of the cars already trying to get into that 3 wide position. It is not an easy one to organize, so credit to all these guys trying to pull this together here. As the Mustang pace car peels in, we're going to go quiet for a minute of silence here at Chicagoland in honor of David Cater. Thank you for your respect for David Cater. And just look at the beautiful 3-wide salute that they've got all the way back to the back of the field. I believe they said they're going to break it up here and take one more lap where they try to get the cars back in order, and then we will go green here for 134 laps. Of course, not counting these first couple. They've gone 3 wide. Since we got a little bit more time just looking through and finding some more stories from our drivers. This one is from Justin Thompson. He says, David and I had some good knockout, drag-out battles on the track. We gave each other hell on the track like Earnhardt and the Kid, him being Earnhardt, of course. When DC was behind you, your palms would sweat and nerves get shaky knowing that he was coming. He was and is going to be forever remembered by the ones that he has helped and raced with. Adam, it is so touching to see all these guys come together. I am excited to see the racing, though, because this combination of cars, and clearly these guys look to be ready to try and give the audience a great show here today. There's been a lot of practicing out there. We've seen drivers in David's spirit giving each other tips, suggesting how best to race his set to get the most out of it. It's just, everything about this thing is fitting.
It is, and this is a tribute that's been seen, a few times, and every time you do see it, it gets to be not easy, whether it be in the real world or the virtual world, and I think it's just a very fitting way to kick this event off, and in a respectful fashion, and I like seeing it, and I think maybe it's a good time to, just while we got a quick minute, maybe just talk one more time here before we get going. Maybe bring up Tyler Hudson's, iRacing's own Tyler Hudson, what he thought about David Cater, and said, I will never forget all the battles we used to have when iRacing first came out in the late model car. So that goes back a ways, Joe. We would run race after race, door to door, back and forth for the win, and always talked about those days and great memories. And I think that gives an idea too of just how long David Cater and his impact has been on the iRacing service and its drivers and competitors. And I think it'll be great. One last show for here today.
Indeed. You can see they now caught the pace car since they threw the caution after the green flag flew. And they've got one more lap behind it, I believe, since I saw the pace lights on that pace car. And I think they should turn off this time since we've got no lapped cars to give wave arounds to. As they come across the line one more time. Grabbing just one more of these stories. This one comes from Adam Gilliland. He says, David was a great guy with a great attitude about everything. Was fortunate enough to be teammates with him back in 2011 and meet him at the iRacing seminar in Texas a few years back. A lot of drivers met him there. He was a hard racer, but you never had to worry about him cleaning you out or doing something silly. David was a straight shooter. If he messed up, he'd be the first to tell you. No sugarcoating or beating around the bush, and I respected the hell out of that. You'll be missed. Rest peacefully, Bubba. A lot of drivers really do respect that sort of racing, that just giving it to you how it is and telling you exactly, what you did right and what you did wrong, because equal parts can be helpful to you. You can't always know all the good. Sometimes you have to know exactly how you can improve out there on the track, and that's one of the things that David seemed to be best at, according to a lot of people that knew him. All right, looks like the pace car getting ready to peel in now as we finally start to go racing out here for David's final ride here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Casey Kerwin now getting ready to go as the pace car peels off, and I think we might not actually be going green.
It's not going to go green. I think what they're doing here is they're going to let everything kind of sort itself out a little bit, make sure that there's no inadvertent black flags from the tribute pace laps here, which would become apparent once the green flag comes out, and then let them get sorted out, and then they'll throw another quick yellow, and then we'll get racing here after that.
Paul, Apologies that we've got a lot of caution here at the start. Hopefully we won't have this during the actual racing, but they obviously wanted to give the best they could to David and his family here at the start, and also make it fair for everybody out on the track. So while they get it sorted out with our second strong caution flag, we're going to take a very quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hopefully we'll come back with the first green flag racing that we have here in David's final ride. Stick around here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel here on the iRacing Esports Network. They are now double file here on lap 9. We'll get going racing here on lap 10 as it starts here in David Cater's final ride. And right now they are just coming down the backstretch behind the Mustang pace car. So they've obviously saved a little bit of fuel. And now that they've got everything sorted out and they're sure that they're going to have a good start to this race, we're looking forward to this one. Just 2 more corners to go. Now, you mentioned the tire wear. I'm assuming then it's going to be tire limited out here more than fuel limited, Adam?
Well, a 1.5-mile track, you end up having a lot of fall off. And I think you're going to see a little bit more here today just because of the nature of the beast and being a tighter setup. So it'll be something to watch out for sure.
All right, as the Mustang pace car finally peels into pit lane, Casey Kerwin has control. Now we get our first green flag laps here at Chicagoland Speedway. He gets a fantastic jump with William Amshoff following him up into second as Patrick Mallett, despite being on the front row, drops down into third. Behind them, they're already mostly getting single file. First side-by-side racing we've got is between the number 18 and the number 11. That's Scott Crump and James Heater.
Casey Kerwin's start there off the bat was textbook. I mean, that was, if you're going to start a normal race, that was how you do it. Caught Patrick Mallett completely off guard. That's why he dropped back to third.
So as the front few cars are still racing single file, we've got a nice little battle happening for 4th place. That's Mark Nadeau riding the high side just ahead of the number 22, who now slots in behind him, gives up the ghost and settles for 6th. A little bit behind them, the number 7 of Blade Witt, up ahead of Scott Crump. He also working the high side. That one working pretty well, but he ducks it all the way down to the apron. That's legal here at Chicagoland. Then brings it back up on the apron as we now hop on board with that car.
Yeah, this is a fantastic race right here between 7th and 8th between James Heater and Blade Witt. Keep bringing up. And Blade Witt's not letting go at all here. And in fact, but this is getting in the weather's trouble areas. Now that we put a few laps on the tire in the green flag conditions, I'll have to be careful not to push up into each other out of 4.
Yeah, do you think that's why we're seeing such a calm start here? The drivers may be thinking long-term on this one?
Yeah, yes and no. You got to remember the drivers that we have out here in a lot of ways, these are some of the best of the bunch. And they know that this is a long race today. I mean, we're going over 200 miles this afternoon. So you don't need to make everything up in the first 10 laps of this race. You got time to let things play out, so no reason to be hyper-aggressive right off the start.
Mid-pack certainly get a little bit cluttered up here. We're watching Mark Herzog up on the high side of Cody Griffin. This is for 15th spot. They were racing side by side with Nick Hurd just behind them in the number 2 moments ago, but as they come off the final corner, they're starting to pull away. And once again, that high side looking like it carries pretty good speed off the corner. Let's see if Herzog can finally seal the deal down the front stretch.
And yeah, Mark is going to be one of those guys we're going to have to keep an eye on here for this race. I mean, I've raced against him plenty in the majors in these Gen 6 cars, and he always, especially that Alliance, just that Alliance attitude, they'll really come in strong going in toward the tail end of a run, and especially in these 1.5 miles. He loves Charlotte. He loves catching people at the end of his runs in Charlotte.
Looks like Griffin was able to fend him off and solidify that 15th spot. As we ride on board with Herzog. Just behind them, though, poor Nick Hurd seems to be falling backwards because now he is under threat from the number 80. That's Adam Sweet, trying to see if he can get one more spot.
Going back up toward the front here real quick. James Heater is... Oh, we got contact. James Heater is involved in it. Didn't see the car he got into. That's Mark Nadeau,
it looks like.
Yeah, Mark Nadeau ended up getting high. He just completed the pass on Heater, and then Heater ended up being an unfortunate victim in that one.
Let's check out the replay. Looks like as we watch this number 40, yeah, you're going to see coming out of 4, this car just starts to understeer. And there's the wall. Great job by both drivers to keep that from swinging back up onto the track. They got the cars going once again, but they'll certainly have a little bit of damage. Not only was that a hard lick into the wall, but the two made contact with one another with significant impact.
Yeah, you know, and Mark Nadeau's Camry definitely looks a little bit on the rough side right now. And one thing to mention, even though this is a memorial race, in all essence, it's a fun race for these guys to celebrate the memory of David Cater, there are no faster pairs in this race. So that's going to be damage that they'll have to decide if it's worth fixing or not.
And look at this. It is a pit party already. We didn't have too many green flag laps, only about 6 of them. And already, just about everybody heading on into the pits. Do we have anybody that stays out here?
Oh, I think everybody's coming in. I think this will be, if you're going to experiment with taking 2 tires here, maybe two right sides, this would be when you would try to experiment with something like that. See if anybody does that or if everybody takes 4.
Ryan Hartz, maybe? He's out quickly, and he's the first one to leave the pits. Looks like he's followed by Adam Sweet.
And it looked like most of your front runners all took 4 tires, which is probably also the smart thing to do. A mile-and-a-half track, especially with this tire model right now, you're taking tires every chance you get.
Well, we'll see if those gamblers manage to gain anything out of that as the rest of the field leaves the pits. You mentioned Tyler Hudson, one of the well-known names here on iRacing. Here's another one for you. Mike Willett chimed in on the legacy of David. He said, iRacing Hall of Fame, first inductee, no question. Please make this happen. You never had to guess who David was or what he was thinking. Uncountable contributions to our community, and as much as he'll be missed by us, I can't imagine what his family is going through now. Prayers to them. Very classy thoughts there from Mike Willett, and a number of drivers, I can say, definitely chimed in, reaffirming that they thought if they do make a iRacing Hall of Fame, that they also felt David belonged in there. So we'll see if that happens someday. iRacing hasn't yet, but we're now 10 years in. They've had some time to establish some history. Maybe someday we'll get that, Adam.
Yeah, you know, just a little virtual Hall of Fame. Why not? It's a virtual racing service, right? I think we could. We could talk him into making that happen.
Maybe they could make it so that it's an actual thing that you load up on the sim. You hit Control-Z and you can zoom around the world and go and check out the...
I'm just saying, as much as people like to send the iRacing staff pizza, it'd be a great place in the lobby of the iRacing headquarters to have the Hall of Fame there. That way the pizza guys have something to look at whenever they deliver the food.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good idea
or
as well.
whenever random people come by and visit, you know?
I like this. Let's start... Let's hope that the staff is making notes if they're watching right now. I also imagine guys like Gregor Hutu will probably be quick on that list to being included. Now, I believe we should get double file this time by as they're coming up to the line once more. They're not quite yet. The changed order is Patrick Mallet up at the front, the number 19. Blade Witt has now moved himself into second and is number 7. Todd Hendrick in third in the number 45, and that it's Casey Kerwin, who was our leader for much of the race, in fourth, and Scott Crump sitting in fifth. So just a couple drivers who are trying a little bit of a different strategy, and like Adam said, trying to shake things up, see what sticks out here.
Yeah, and 2 of those guys who were that came out real fast. Of course, we talked about like Adams. They decided to go ahead and come back down the road on the second time around. So, and I think it's going to be one of those things too that we could see some long runs here, especially as the race goes along, and maybe taking fuel on that, especially this early, give you a lap up on everybody else. Hey. That's all the things that the little crew chiefs and everybody else are trying to figure out right now, exactly how this strategy is going to play out as the day goes on. That's one thing I love about the Gen 6 cars is you have to strategize your races, especially the ones that are this long and involve pit stops. You have to have a plan going in.
Well, we'll see whose plan works best as we now head into turn 3. These drivers slowly coming up to our first real restart of the day. Let's see what happens to those front runners as the Mustang pace car now ducks into the pit lane one more time. Patrick Mallet waiting and waiting and waiting. Now he accelerates as the green flag comes out once more. Not a very good start from the number 7 of Blade Witt, already being swamped by Casey Kerwin, who ducks down to the inside here as they get going on lap 21.
Patrick Mallett is trying to take a page out of that Casey Kerwin book from the start of this race, and, well, it worked, but not for long. Kerwin already on his back bumpers ahead of the green.
Yep, he's sandwiched, though, between the number 19 and the number 7. They're holding very close to him if he makes a mistake in this pass attempt. Ducks down all the way to the grass and then comes back in line with these top 3. The podium positions pulling away slightly from the number 45. Down that curve backstretch one more time. Diving it in deep goes the number 14. Kerwin not interested in sitting in second for very long. He's trying to peel it away from Patrick Mallett, and he's trying to do it now. Down into turn 1. Can't quite get deeper than the 19 this time, as it looks like Mallett looking to fight back, holding on to that first position. Popcorn spot goes to Blade Witt, just waiting to see how this is going to play out. He follows to the inside. It looks like he might now get second, as the number 14 is solidly in first.
I have to wonder, you know, just in a lot of mile-and-a-half tracks, it's been a few seasons since I've had a chance to race in Chicagoland, but a lot of other mile-and-a-half tracks, you're going to see the primary line start to drift up here as the race goes along. It's going to be who's going to be able to keep it on the bottom the longest, I think. And right now, Casey Kerwin, saw there kind of the short little 6-7 lap run. He never left that white line, and he was one of the only guys that didn't start drifting up. So we'll see how long he's able to keep it here on this next one.
So you see them taking a little bit of split lines down the front stretch, some of them staying up on the bacon, some of them ducking down to the flat of the apron. Got a little bit of a battle behind these guys in 6th. This is Reese Baham with Cody Griffin climbing all over the back of his car. And you might notice that it has gotten a little bit darker. The cloud has come overhead. And Adam, I've called multiple races now with the new weather and lighting system on the roadside, but this is my first one on the oval side.
Yeah, you know, and actually mine too, but I've been able to read up on it quite a bit. And, you know, and especially with my background, my meteorology background and everything, I've been wanting to see this forever. The next step is going to be actually having, like, real weather involved within, like, rain and all that. But right now, we get the clouds, and the clouds will change the track surface by heating. Because, well, now the sun isn't beating down on that little place. And it's something you're going to have to catch on to with this dynamic weather. Big moment back there.
Yeah, that was the number 1 of Reese. He just slammed into the outside wall. He was being overtaken by Griffin. Now he's able to keep going, but he's sure pancaked the right side of that thing. If we can get a replay from the car behind him, William Amshoff, I think, was riding up behind him. He's coming out of 4. This is there it was again. Try and watch one more time so we can get the perspective of the car behind. That should really show us how violent of a slam this was. Mid-South driver not able to get by immediately, but as we come back live, he's now already overtaking the number 1. "28 laps in now. We've got the longer of the 2 green flag runs that we've had so far. A little bit farther behind these guys. 6th place Tom Omit with Jeff Addison as we jump up to P2 instead. This looks like Blade Witt falling off a little bit from our leader, with Patrick Mallett still running behind him since the number 7 is overtaking him, and he's got a really good run off of 4.
We're already seeing that change in lines. It seems like that only the top 5 are the guys that are really holding it down to the white line. Everybody else starting to drift up just a touch.
Number 19 riding high. 45 swings up behind him. We got a caution. Not sure who this is. Nadeau again? Yes. It is Nadeau on the front stretch. And this looks eerily similar to what we saw with the #1 car.
Yeah, it's just the different corner. And this is actually what I thought might be a problem as the day went along. Turn 4, that wall just reached out and bit Mark Nadio. And, of course, that car was already ill-handling the adventure earlier, so that kind of probably helped that matter. But able to get it straight. We'll see if this is going to be able to get repaired. And
we might not want to show the replay so we don't embarrass him too much, but he lost the car heading into the pits as he spun it out trying to slow the car down. So it is definitely not handling the way he would want. He hasn't lost a lap yet, but with that extra spin, he is certainly going to lose it in the pit stops, which are happening right now, being led by Casey Kerwin. One more time, a string of cars as every single driver decides it's best if they get fresh rubber. There's no limits on how many sets of tires they can take in this race. 14 looks like he solidly is into his stall, but the number 15 of Amshoff is not. He had to back that one up. Let's see who gets out first among our competitors. Looks like our leader, Casey Kerwin, is going to be in and out the fastest of any of them. So as the rest of the drivers exit pit lane and catch up to the pace car, we're going to take another quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway. We're watching Cater's final drive, and once again I want to remind everybody that the GoFundMe link to help donate money to help out with David Cater's family as they deal with this time of loss is down in the YouTube description. Please, if you can, or if you care about David Cater or his family, or you got help from him, consider giving something as a thank you to them for all that he did for the iRacing community and what special memories he gave everybody for so many years. We are going to restart on lap 1:35 here at Chicagoland as the Mustang pace car now gets ready to peel off once more. Kerwin going to be your leader. He waits patiently. A lot of drivers waiting quite a bit before they get on the power. The number 14 back up into the lead. Patrick Mallett has done a good job of keeping with him through here, and Todd Hendrick slots into third behind him. The number 11 of Scott Crump's got a great run, but can he take it off the corner? He's going to look to the inside, Adam.
Yeah, you know, their front 1-2 file up front until you get to third and fourth with Todd Hendrick and Scott Crump. Scott Crump trying to edge out Hendrick as they come out of 4, but that outside line and that run is going to have the advantage there for just a moment. And don't forget, you got, but just behind these two, you've got Cody Griffin and Blade Witt going to be coming up hot up the tails as long as they run side by side.
And they're still running side by side as that number 11 is just not able to make it stick. Griffin now rocking up right behind them as we look out the back of Scott Crump. Coming off the corner one more time, right's a little bit higher this time.
Yeah, Griffin's back in. I think thought he was dirt tracking through 4. Able to keep it straight, though, and not lose hardly any time, but he's going to have to get off the gas as Todd Hendrick almost comes down in front of him there. Got a little interesting there for a bit. And I'm looking at, once again, still at Griffin's car. It's just having a hard time settling. You're going to try going 3 wide going into turn 3. That's Blake Witt on the bottom. Cody Griffin is in the middle. And then Todd Hendrick is like, nope, I'm good. I'm just going to back out of that one.
Yeah, that number 45 is willing to give up a few spots just to make it to the end of this race, it looks like. But how about Cody Griffin? Really on a charge here today. He's all the way up to 4th. He started in 11th. That is quite a climb. Poor Todd Hendrick's not done yet because now the number 6 of Tom Omit is behind him, although he drops back after an initial run. Meanwhile, the number 7, I'm starting to see him blink on my screen. I think his connection is not looking very solid.
Yeah, it looks like it's dropping just a touch. He was doing a little bit of that in qualifying, but it balanced out. So we'll see if it balances out for him again here. Hey, don't forget, we got another big mover out there, and I know I'm going to talk a lot about him here today because I'm just so familiar with him. But Mark Herzog, he started this way back in the field. He's up to 8th. So Mark, using his knowledge, having run plenty of these oval races, to climb within the top 10. He's disposed of William Anshoff. Next on his list is going to be Tom Omit, who we were talking a little bit earlier about. I just saw some sparks kick up off Mark Herzog as he brushed the wall.
Yep,
better get off him before we put the commentator's curse on him, Joe.
Indeed, he's lost quite a bit of pace, and now Amshoff is all over the back of him once again as they come off of 4. He's got a nice little run, but mostly covering the inside. The 57 comes back up to the high side, and William has to back out of that one.
But meanwhile, going back up toward the front, Blade Witt right now making a move. He's trying to keep that 4th spot away from Cody Griffin, but Cody Griffin fighting hard on the outside. This is going to be our first, I think, real good test here now to see how that outside line starting to come in. Is Cody Griffin's able to do anything with him here? And in fact, I think he's going to give up the ghost and kind of slot in behind him here.
Number 3 regroups, but he doesn't drop too far back. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with Cody, the way that he's been moving forward here in the middle of the race. And Blade Witt was doing the same not long ago. So I wonder if this is the ebb and flow of the tires a little bit, or maybe the line that each of these drivers using going in and out, depending on where you're trying to stick the car. But the number 3 still hasn't made a second attack. He's waiting patiently, looking for an opportunity and seeing if a weakness gets exposed by the number 7.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Casey Kerwin continuing to lead this field now has almost a second gap now between him and Patrick Mallett.
There we see our leader running a very solid race so far. Hasn't been challenged too much. He had to retake the lead after some alternate pit strategies set him backwards. And Oh, let's go back to 11th place. Jeff Addison and a close little fight with Brian Sibery and Ryan Hertz. They were almost 3 wide for a moment. The 22 there you see on the high side is Ryan Hertz, still trying to fend off Sibery. Down low, and the 27 washes up and gets out of the power. Back down into turn 1 they go. Single file once again. Up ahead of these cars. If we get an off-board shot, you might notice that Mark Herzog is no longer ahead of Amshoff. In fact, he's dropped back into the clutches of the number 18 of Heater. So after an initial rush forward, the 57 is starting to reverse himself.
And for that, I'd like to apologize for the brief commentator's curse that apparently we vexed him with. But he's still out there running strong. He'll get it put together here. Another guy that I'm watching that we've been talking about too, that's kind of seems like he's sliding back just a touch, has been Cody Griffin. He's fallen off the back spoiler of Blade Witt, and now fallen back to where Todd Hendrick has been able to try to sneak a few peeks. I don't want to be able to actually take a peek, but sneak a few.
Back in 12th, we were watching this battle earlier. Addison still trying to fend off from Sibery. He just got passed by Ryan Hertz, who has been moving forward. And they split up a little bit down the back stretch.
Their car off the grass. That is Nick Hurd. Nick Hurd in the inside wall.
When I believe Nick had problems earlier on in this race as well, as he comes back to the apron. That was a simple understeer moment by the number 2, heading up into the outside wall of turn 2. Let's see if we can find an angle on that.
And unfortunately, coming down pit road, ended up having more problems.
It's a very similar issue to what we saw before with the front of which driver it was, who also spun the car trying to slow it up.
It would have been Mark Nadeau, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Almost to lap 50 as we jump up to second place. Looks like Patrick Mallet, who continues to drop off of Kerwin, is still trying to fend off the number 11 and the number 7. 3-car pack here at the bottom few steps of the podium. They're all kind of riding in line for now. The way that we're seeing drivers get up on someone and then start to drop off makes me wonder, Adam, does riding in the wake hurt the tires a lot more?
Yeah, you're taking away the front downforce, so you're going to have to start turning more. It's not like an Indy car and all that with some of the real push that you see, the aero push, but it's still there just because of simple physics. I mean, these front ends, they don't produce a lot of downforce, but they produce enough that if you're up behind somebody, you're going to have to turn the wheels a little bit harder.
One of those drivers that's directly behind another right now is Jim Walton, the number 76. He's racing Kyle Lamont for 20th as the number 17 goes way up on the high side, this time pretty high up, all the way up almost to the top seam. And that actually helps him quite a bit because the 76 just cannot get the run off the corner. In front of them, that is Bear and Lepresto. As number 194 gets up close to the outside wall of 4. He's got to be careful with that. Those two get it settled out. Now, so let's check back in on a battle that we were watching a little bit earlier. This is for 12th once again. They're side by side. Addison on the high side in the number 94. Brian Sibery down on the low side, still trying to get by. Earlier, he was racing with Ryan Hartz, but Hartz has left them behind and already passed multiple cars. Well, these two are left scrambling amongst each other. That number 80 behind them that we can't see since we're on the hood of Sibery is, or actually, no, we were riding on Sweet, were we? No, we were riding on Sibery. Nice little mid-pack battle between these drivers. And I have to say, we keep hearing from drivers, Adam, about how people talk about how David was a fair driver. And I'm seeing a lot of that today. There is nice, clean racing, but hard racing.
Yeah, these guys still aren't giving each other an inch. I mean, I'm watching Tom Oak right now pinching down Amshoff a little bit, but I mean, only a little bit. I mean, he was still giving him plenty of room to, to race, and it's respectful out there. It's great. It's just the type of racing that you like to see in these Gen 6 cars here so far. And now, because of it, we're getting a really nice long green flag run, and these guys are really starting to feel out what's going to happen with the tires as the race goes on.
Absolutely. We're getting ready to start lap 56 here. We're watching Amshoff there. He's in the white and black machine. We ride on board with the number 6 of Omit. Fantastic run off the corner for the number 15, but can't quite do anything with it. And coming up like a rocket ship, here comes Ryan Hartz. Oh, drifting up a little bit. The number 15 of William finds himself getting off the power and makes an easy pass for the number 22. Ryan is now into P8, but can he finish the deal? Yes, he can. Nice run by Hartz. He's been trying to climb back forward. He started this thing in 7th. He's only up to 8th. The car ahead of him, if anything, has had a much better run. Omit started in 14th. He's in his 7th. Side-by-side action. Back in 10th, Herzog, who we've been watching. Still trying to flirt with that top 10. It's James Heater down on the low side in the red and black machine. You see the number 18 as they come off the corner just about equal to each other.
This will be a chance for Herzog to feel out that high line, see what he can do with it, if he's able to hold him off here at all. But so far, I don't think the momentum is winning out over trying to carry that low line. Unless he starts to push up, and then James Heater had to get out of the gas to avoid running up into Herzog there. Car in the infield, trying to see who that is. That is Ian White. Ian White going through a trip through the infield, Joe.
Ooh, yeah, not sure how he managed to get there. Oh, and he got loose off of 4. This is the first time we've seen a car get loose instead of understeer.
Yeah, it was almost like he got off the gas to save the car, and as soon as it did, it shot dead straight right into the wall. We got here at the GSRC replay, you'll see it. The car gets loose, backs out of the gas, and then as soon as it does, boom, right in the wall and hard contact.
Very hard contact. Now, he's still going, but he is limping that car on the apron, trying to get to the pits. Because there was nobody around him and he didn't stop on the racing line, there was no caution thrown by the virtual stewards. Up in 7th place as we look at the battle between Omit and I believe this is Amshoff. Hartz. Hartz once again proving himself to be on quite a charge. Amshoff just giving watch from that number 15, waiting behind these two. Running the middle line, trying to make sure he gets some clean air. But the number 6 rebuffs the number 22 and retains P7. Right on board with the number 15 now, watching ahead. Curious to see how many laps before a driver says enough is enough and I can gain a big advantage by hopping in the pits. Takes that risk to go a lap down or two.
There's a certain point in a lot of these races, and I got to see what the lap fall off here time is, so bear with me for just a minute. But there's a certain point in a lot of these mile-and-a-half races where you would go ahead and try to do that. You would go ahead and try to pit early because the fall off in lap times would be so much. But I'm not seeing crazy fall off here to really warrant that, at least at this point. I mean, we went green, I think, on lap 35 is when we went green. So we've been almost 30 laps now. looking at Casey Kerwin, his lap time at lap 36 was a 28.9. Now he's running a 30.8, so that's 2 seconds a lap. And I don't think you would be able to regain that what you lose over the course of the run, because you fall off into the 30s actually relatively quick.
Ryan Hartz has had something to cheer for as we've watched him actually overtake Amshoff and Omit as we turn the cameras on to the number 14, who's been running something of a lonely race out there today ever since the last restart. The gap now 1.7 seconds ahead of Patrick Mallet. Not a huge gap, but significant enough that really Kerwin has not been threatened for a number of laps out here. I tell you what, back in 11th, don't forget Adam Sweet and Mark Herzog. Now, Herzog has fallen back slightly. He gained a bunch of spots, and now he keeps dropping one lap after lap here. Ooh, because he has a moment trying to collect the car off of 4. 57, losing Adam Sweet, who started 27th and has had a phenomenal run. But check out the number 94, Jeff Addison. He started this thing in 6th. Somehow he finds himself now down in 13th and working on trying to get past the 57. Being chased by Siberi and McDaniel behind them. That is all for position as we ride on board with Addison now.
While they're kind of going single file here for a moment, maybe a good time to go ahead and talk about another driver's thoughts on David Cater. And I'm going to pull up Michael Conti. Oh, actually, hold on. Casey Kerwin just got loose going through the tri-oval. He just had a big moment. We'll get back to Michael Conti's statement in a moment. Now, pulling up the GSRC replay machine here, and Joe, it was like as soon as he went down to try to touch the tri-oval, that back end decided it wanted to go ahead and come around on him.
Does that tend to upset the car when you kind of straddle it like that?
Especially getting late in a run, yes. The car's lighter now, the tires are worn. You got to be careful. And I don't think he really intended, it's coming up here, I don't think he really intended to actually go all the way down the apron. It just caught it the right way to try to pull the car around. Miraculous job saving that car. But,
that was a beautiful catch.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and let's talk about Michael Conti here, and of course, peak driver Michael Conti. I'll never forget when he told me to respect my elders after I likened the Richard Petty driving experience car to his B-Fix setups. He was an awesome dude and knew how to take a joke. I also had the privilege of being a teammate with his for a while, and he was great to work with. I send my condolences to his family.
Great stuff from Michael. Coming from a champion, I imagine that means a lot. But we're watching this battle for second. The gap between Kerwin and Mallet really didn't change a whole lot since his moment. I wonder if that's because Mallet is more busy looking behind him in his mirrors, and that might not be for long, because here comes the number 7 to the low side. He is trying to get back into second place. Blade Wit proving he's got the speed here, even if he doesn't have it in qualifying. His race pace is looking handy from 13th to 2nd with a smooth move through 1 and 2.
Just to give you an idea, Patrick Mallet's last 3 laps have all been 31s, while Blade Wit, actually, they've all been 31s as well, but just fast enough to be able to complete that pass, and maybe even fast enough that might be able to try to pull away from him here. But it's still, Casey Kerwin, despite his moment that he had, still running really good laps and faster than those guys. So I don't know if he has anything for Casey Kerwin here just yet.
We are on lap 72, which means we are past the halfway point of this race. And this has been by far our longest green flag run. as we jump down to 9th, and now this is a close side-by-side battle as cars come together. What timing! The 9 tries to catch it. The 18 tries to catch it. He's able to stay pointed forward. So does Tom Omit.
Oh, no, James Heater loses it back on the track. That's going to bring out the caution.
Thought that James Heater had it, but I guess with dirty tires, he tried to gun it as he got back onto the oval portion. Here's the initial contact, Adam.
Just hard racing, coming off forward, kind of thing I've been worried about all day. And both those guys just driving that car through the grass, able to keep it straight. And unfortunately, I think just James's luck just ran out when he got back onto the gas. Lucky nobody else got collected in the second incident of that.
Yeah, a lot of horsepower underneath those cars. So when you got the tires all full of grass and they're worn out after many laps racing under green, it's no surprise that he could light them up so easily and make such an embarrassing mistake. We're getting ready for pit stops now. Kerwin going to lead them in. He's dealt with this race very well.
What's the over-under on everybody coming in here?
I mean, is there a 1-to-1 stats on this?
I mean, it might as well be. As I think the only cars you'll see stay out here are going to be a lap down, but Kerwin coming to his box.
Yep, he trundles slowly towards that. Every single driver heads on in. As Casey Kerwin looks like he gets it nice and clean. Not seeing anybody else miss their stall. It's one of those other worries when those tires go on for a long time, Adam. A lot easier to slide it in a little too far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you find they don't break nearly as well or as much as you want them to. Great race off pit road for second on back.
So Patrick Mallet does get that second place away from Blade Witt in the pit stops, but I think that's the only major change we had up at the top of the field. Let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, just past halfway for Cater's final ride. Welcome back here to Chicagoland. We're watching Cater's final drive on GSRC. being broadcast over the iRacing Esports Network. Going to restart on lap 78 here, so hopefully we get another green flag run like we did. Really didn't see too many in the way of close calls that indicated that drivers dodged a bullet with that long green flag run, honestly. So I expect us to get some good action here on the next one. We might have some drivers talking to us if we do get another yellow flag, some people that would be willing to share memories of David Cater if we get the opportunity. But in the meantime, we're going to go racing one more time here as the Mustang pace car peels into the pit lane, and Kerwin leads them away yet another time. But this time it looks like the number 19 with a much better start, holding the number 14 honest as they now head through 1 and 2.
Oh, don't think that Mallet hasn't been taking notes from Casey Kerwin and how his restarts have gone here, and that's his best restart yet here today. Pretty straightforward going back until you get to about 5th position. Todd Hendrick having spied off Scott Crump. He's got Cody Griffin back there as well.
It is a log jam back here, because don't forget Ryan Hart's in that mix. William Amshoff also, who've been flirting with the top 5 all race long. That number 22 in particular has been very hot. So has Cody Griffin. They finally get it sorted out and all go single file, but they're not far away from one another. Amshoff going to look the inside down into turn 3. Nope, he backs off of it, stays behind Scott Crump. So,
seen a few guys really try to push it off or some back end stepping it out and some power goes back down. You know, nothing dangerous right now, but that's something you want to be careful for and not run off those rears.
Oh, as the number 3 gets awful close there. I think there was contact.
No, there was definitely contact there. Wow.
What a camera shot to give us an idea of how close the driver Cody Griffin is willing to get to Todd Hendrick. Once again, he's putting that nose down to the left rear quarter panel of the number 45, but now it's in front of him as he dives it in deep into turn 1, but a little bit too deep because the 45 is going to get the shot off the corner. Not going to give up on this one. He tries once again. That number 3 looking really strong on the way in.
And then looking at Ryan Hart's back there trying to make that. For a moment, it was 3 wide when Cody Griffin went down to the apron. And Cody Griffin had such a good run down there. He's going to pull out in front of both those guys. And now Ryan Hart's, he's taking Todd Hendrick out, and he's going to go ahead and probably clear him by the time they get to 3.
Hart's really sold Hendrick a dummy there. He saw the opportunity because Hendrick was stuck up on the high side, did the exact same thing that Cody did. So move the number 22 up to 5th now. But all that battling has put a gap between Cody Griffin and the 3rd place driver Blade Witt. He's been riding just behind Patrick Mallet since the drop of the green. They've been trying to keep up with Curran, but it's been to no avail. That number 14 has just looked so solid out there today. We've really only seen one mistake from Casey Kerwin. Admittedly, it was almost a race-ending mistake, but he made good on it.
It just doesn't seem like his separation between him and 2nd place and this time around Patrick Mallet I don't see that distance increasing as fast as it did earlier. I think these guys are either Casey's laying off just a touch, just trying to preserve things a little bit more, or those guys are pushing a little bit harder. Either way, contact, by contact, I mean visual contact staying with those guys here.
Down through 1 and 2. Through once again as we jump back a little bit farther to Cody Griffin once again. Number 22 was right on his bumper for a couple laps there as we were watching 2nd and 3rd, but he's now backed off, probably thinking about exactly what you talked about earlier, Adam. Just try not to get too close to that wake. So as they stay in position, let's take a look at this battle back in the mid-pack because Omit in the thick of it once again. Same thing with Herzog. These are drivers we've really seen having to battle side by side quite a bit. Reese Bayham has himself back up in the mid-pack. We saw him having to deal with some contact earlier on in the race. He's just ahead of Brian Siberry.
Nick Hurd fans, he's been out there just trying to run laps after his earlier problems. He made contact with the wall back on the pit road again.
Oh, sad to see. Yeah, there's his car. Unfortunately, the Floridian having to take a few repairs. So let's jump back to that 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th battle. Omit's back on top of the 57 once again. Not doing anything with it. He had a great run down to 3, and he's going to use another good run as he tries not to slide up into the back corner of the 57. Well, he tried it. I can't say it was a successful try.
I was watching it. That was great awareness on both of those guys because, I think Mark wasn't really anticipating he was going to make the move right there, and Mark started coming down a little bit too. And at the same time that Tom was kind of coming in there going up a little bit, but they both realized they were there at the last second, able to back out of it. Not only back out of it, but back out of it, both of them not cost each other a lot of time. So kudos on them. That's great racing.
Side-by-side action behind him. Siberry was down to the inside of the number 1, but it looks like Reese was able to carry that speed up to the high side and deny the 27 for now, but Brian's not giving up on it. He tries the low side once again through 3 and 4. Up to the tri-oval. Let's see if he can finally seal the deal, and I think he's got it now.
A clean pass from Siberry. And, considering, how his race has gone, I mean, he's only up 3 positions from where we started this thing, but he's had himself a pretty eventful day.
McDaniel is well going to overtake the number 1. Reese just not able to stop the bleeding, although he's trying now. Oh, wow, now he's stopping the bleeding. Look at him come back to the front of the number 25. Patrick McDaniel keeps the nose low, sees if he can try to use that low line to make it stick, but I don't think that's going to be the case quite here. Behind them, that's number 33 of Roger Gregory. Just giving watch. 25 still staying low, still staying right at that quarter panel. Making the number 1 think about things. He's got some momentum on the front stretch. Let's see what he's got down into 1 and 2. Oh, I saw a little bit of smoke. That was the number 6. I think that was Tom Omit having to catch the car. You can see he's going very slow now, and that's messing up this battle between the two.
No, he had to get out of it and get breaking loose, and Siberry just had nowhere to go and got into the back of him. Very light contact, but I mean, right there, if you have even the slightest contact, it'll break you loose.
Got the replay here. Let's take a look at that since we missed that contact. Woo! Great catch by the Californian. And as we come back live, the 6, that slide must have made the tires angry because I watched him come off of 4 looking really shaky, and the number 33 is already looking to take advantage.
Yeah, and he didn't put him back into a heap of trouble there, not in a position that he wants to be shaky. He just really high there coming off of 4 that time, and that was where he's getting into the wall there for a second. He's able to pull it down. But still, definitely needs a few laps to just calm driving to be able to get those tires back under him.
He's not really had a good chance to calm down because
not at all.
Cars keep streaming by him. Be nice if you have some track to yourself. I think now he's finally got it. He's pulling away from the 33.
Yeah, if we go up ahead just a little bit, go up to Scott Crump here and Adam Sweet. Scott Crump just made a great I shouldn't say save, almost a pass. I think he was actually defending that position, but he took it back from Adam Sweet on the outside. That's the first real true I don't think we need to go back to it, but that was the first true outside move I've really seen in this race.
Yep, that moves Scott Crump into 8th position, having started this race in 9th. A bit loose on the backstretch, though. Let's see, we restarted, I believe it was lap 78, so we're getting a little late in the run now. And what's the track doing? We haven't looked at that in a while.
Well, it really seems like now the front straightaway is getting a lot of sun, and that was interesting there just a minute ago, watching Scott Crump, and what that's going to do is that's going to heat the track up. It's going to be a little slicker out there now too. Is really, I think, most of the track now getting extra sun. Track temperature now up to 81 degrees. It had fallen just a few degrees with some of the clouds, but now up to an average 81.
Down to the inside, here comes Adam Sweet. Number 80 is seeing if he could swing the momentum on that low side, and he just about does. He certainly doesn't lose any ground. That is looking like a beautiful pass, and down into 1 and 2. Can he get the job done? Not quite. The 11 fights back, running high. Oh, the 80 now is the one getting loose. Pinch in the corner.
Hey, don't leave this great battle, but just so you know, Casey Kerwin is lost ground to Patrick Mountain. There's only 2 tenths separating now. We're going to need to keep an eye up front. Don't leave this battle right now.
Yeah, if that gets side by side, we will definitely jump up to the lead. In the meantime, this is fantastic side by side racing that we've got between the number 80 and the number 11. And don't forget the number 94 behind them. That's Jeff Addison. Ooh, he might finally have a go because the 11 lost out on that battle as the 94 has to steer back down coming off the corner. He almost runs into the side of Scott Crump.
And Siberry, after his great run here today, is making his way down pit road, and I don't think this is a scheduled stop here, Joe. I'm wondering if his temperatures are starting to go up after that front end contact a little while ago.
Oh, wow. Did you see the 11 there? I think he wanted to turn in and then suddenly discovered the 94 was still there, and the 94 washes up high. That's going to swing things back to Scott Crump. Behind them, they've got Mark Herzog coming with a head of steam, but he runs out of straightaway as they now hit turn 1. The 11 now on the low side. Can't quite get the run off the corner, but the 57 can. Here comes the Alliance driver of Mark Herzog. Backs out of it down into 3 and 4. He'll stay in P11 for now. Oh, and he'll definitely stay in 11th as he brushes the wall.
Guys, Patrick Mallett's there, right under the rear wing right now. He was taking a good solid peak going into turn 1. He fell back into single file, but he's taking a different line now here going through 3 and 4. And don't forget, you've got Blade Witt right there as well.
Why don't we throw another wrench in the gears with Blade Witt there, because he's only 3 tenths back. So if they do start fighting, I think it's a good point that you bring him up, because and actually he just caught, look at all the ground that he gained through 1 and 2. I think the number 7 is going to make this a 3-way fight and shorter time than we imagined.
I just wonder if the question is Casey Kerwin's car going away faster? Did the other guys figure something out here? Ooh, big loose moment from Patrick Mallett there coming off 4. He's going to fall off of Casey Kerwin just a little bit. And that actually slows Blade Witt up as well. That might calm this fight here going down here for just a little bit. But one thing, too, also, Joe, I want to point out is while Casey Kerwin seems like he's been slowing up a little bit, we've got guys back here like Cody Griffin, Ryan Hartz, and also Todd Hendrick going back to 6th position that seem like they are gaining on your leaders as well. This is very well coming to the end of the run. It can get very exciting.
And I wonder if we're going to see pit stops soon. Last time we didn't get green flag stops, but it was getting awful late, 30-some laps in, which is what we're getting to about now. So who's going to be the first taker for an official stop? I see Tom Omit in, and I'm not sure why. You know, actually, Tom was the one that got hit in the back and had to catch that slide. So I wonder if his tires are more worn out than those around him, and hence why he is in earlier.
We've already seen Sibri come in as well too. So maybe these are early takers. Maybe these guys are just trying to find something here to carry them through. Maybe some strategy trying to play out.
Yeah, and it is less than 30 laps to the end, so that would split it out evenly, especially if it stays green. So I think this might be a good call on these drivers' part, if they don't get caught out by a yellow, though.
Yeah, they're going to have to let things play out, because otherwise you really just don't gain enough over the course of a run to really gain a lot of ground by early pitting. I mean, the fall off here hasn't been it's sharp initially, but once you get past the first 5 or 6 laps, it falls off very gracefully. Just to give you an idea what I mean by that, the first green flag lap of this run for Casey Kerwin was 29.008, and then within 5 laps, he's already down a half second, but then it took another like 20 laps to fall off that next half second.
Oh my goodness, he's right on board with parts. Cody Griffin is all over the back of him. You could see both of them trying to collect the car out of turn 4. Oh, and he almost gets into the back of him there. Nearly made contact. The number 3 is in a hurry to get somewhere, but the road is blocked. And he's in the hurry to get into the pits. If he can catch the car, get it, Cody. It's sideways. He's trying to bring it back together, and I think he gets it in time. My goodness. That is the most stylish pit entry I've ever seen.
I would say that David would be proud of that moment.
Yeah. Let's watch that one more time. I think he even got it down to the pit speed limit in time for the cones as he caught the car. Look at that. Well, he won't need those tires anymore, so...
And while that was happening, Patrick Mallett is coming, so is Ryan Hertz. Our leader, Casey Kerwin, still turning laps.
Now we're seeing front runners coming on in.
I think with as close as they were, that now Casey Kerwin has to come in this lap, because that would be in that area where they could leapfrog him if he's not careful here, but he's going to go around another time.
This is Patrick Mallett, who was fighting for second.
Oh, and the yellow flag's up! Accident! Casey Kerwin, he got into Patrick Bayer. Something happened to Patrick.
Was Patrick trying to exit the pits? No, Patrick had an incident a long ways before this initially.
He got the car straightened out, and it broke loose on him again under acceleration, and Casey Kerwin was just there and had nowhere to go.
Okay, so we'll have to back up a long ways here. Patrick Bayer, the number 194, tried to come into the pits and initially missed them, which is what set this whole thing up. This is the incident, the contact that puts Casey on his lid. Wow, what a turn of events. Well, Casey's been the more dominant car this whole race. He was caught, but this kind of turned things all loosey-goosey, because now we really haven't seen anybody who's solidly second. That's been swapped around multiple times. Casey taking a bit of a unique way back to the pit lane there in the replay.
I was just following along with him, and the next thing I know, just heard that aluminum crunch and on his lid. A terrible, terrible break for Casey Kerwin, who's running a whale of a race.
Aluminum crunch sounds like a very unpleasant cereal to eat. So, as
why would you even think that?
Don't ask how my mind works. Lap 112, we're seeing the last of the cars who did not pit coming in. Apologies for a brief moment there. I had to fix an issue real quickly, but we've got only a few laps to go now here in this 134 lap race. If you're just joining us, you're watching Cater's final ride, which is an homage to David Cater, who recently passed away. And again, if you can, go take a glance in the YouTube description. There is a link to a GoFundMe that is to help David Cater's family deal with this time of loss. Of course, he left behind quite a few people there that cared for him, not just his family, but his teammates, friends, and many other members here on iRacing. And some of those people that he left behind include the likes of Garrett Mashburn, who has been waiting in our ready-to-interview room as we pull Garrett in here during the caution. Garrett, I know you had some involvement in trying to bring this race together. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in David Cater. Did you know him personally? Looks like Garrett's got to get his mic set up here. We'll give him a second to see if he can get that working. He's been watching the broadcast here along with the rest of you out there. Garrett, do you have a copy? It looks like Garrett unfortunately doesn't have his mic set up, so we'll pull him back as we watch the last of this caution work its way through. We do have some words of other drivers here that we pulled from the forum. The drivers had listed lots of memories and thoughts and feelings about David, their involvement with him. This one is Robbie Vrabel. He said, it didn't matter if your I rating was 100 or 10,000. License class was rookie or pro. He was always willing to help somebody in need, including myself. His tips were something to remember forever that I still use to today. I can honestly say I'm deeply touched and full of sadness. For people who haven't had the opportunity to spend time with David, you certainly missed out. Those who have had the opportunity to know David are very, very lucky. What a positive way to see things. We've talked so much about the loss here today, but I think that's a really good point, Adam, that we need to remember what we had with people like David and the positive influence they've had not only on us, but on so many other people.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. It's when you lose somebody like David Cater, you know, it's not so much of thinking about who can replace him or something like that. You know, you're never going to be able to replace somebody like that. But what you can hope for is that he served as an inspiration to somebody out there that can attempt to try to, you know, go out there and make their mark in the community the way he did. It doesn't even necessarily have to be exactly what David has done, even if it's just the inspiration to go out there and make a difference in the community of iRacing. Because if you think about it, Joe, I mean, iRacing is, I mean, we're a good, solid community that is, what now, about 30,000, 40,000 deep as far as the registered users for iRacing. And it's not like a large city, but it's still a small city. And we've got all different personalities, but the feel of these cities, they need leaders. And that's what David Cater wants to a lot of people.
Very much so. The leadership that he showed has been talked about. We even mentioned some of the words from the drivers earlier about what his sharing setups, sharing tips on building their own setups did. Just everything that he did to change this community. You can see that some of the drivers have now taken a wave around. So what does this do now that we've had some pit stops broken up by this yellow flag, as well as our leader being taken out? Well, their leader is now Jeff Addison in the number 94. Patrick McDaniel is in second. John Lepresto, there's a name we haven't really mentioned up at the front that much. He's in third. Scott Crump in fourth. And Danny Jones in fifth.
These are your gamblers, Joe. These are the guys that took the two tires, try to get the quick caution, hopefully here at the start, but long enough to where everybody else has to come down pit road. They're trying to get the track position, and we'll see how it's going to work out. Got to be careful on these restarts.
Absolutely, which is happening just now as the Mustang pace car peels off And the number 94 has control. The 25 tried to jump it, but he timed it wrong. And look at that. He's going to be swamped by the number 83 and the number 11 on either side of him, going 3 wide down the main straight. And they both get by. Move the number 83 of John Lopresto up into second. Oh, but he almost squeezes into the 11.
A little bit of contact, actually, it looked like there between the 11 and the 83. They're tight going down 3-4.
Up on the high side, Scott Crump carries the speed. He takes back that second place. Power move.
Well, in fact, Scott Crump's going to have his eyes set on the lead here, and Jeff Addison.
Down to the inside, the number 11 has his nose slightly ahead. With less than 20 laps to go, we've got a battle for the lead.
They want a quick caution, but they don't want to be the caution.
Yeah, absolutely. And 11's got it. Look at him send it down into turn 3 and take it away. Blade Witt now joins the party as he moves into third, rocking up behind Jeff Addison. Jeff looking back on the number 11, seeing if he can retake the position, setting up the car in the slipstream of the number 11. They've all gone line astern now. Your new order is Crump, Addison, Witt, Lopresto, and McDaniel for your top 5.
Boy, they accordion again, coming off 4. Scott Crump has to dive to the inside, protect against Blade Witt. Blade Witt on the fresh tires.
On board with the number 83 as we watch the side-by-side battle between Addison and Witt. I think the number 7 might have it now. And yep, he has cleared the number 94.
And it's going to take a lot for Crump to hold off Blade Witt here.
Yeah, he charged up through there very, very quickly. And Witt, we know he's a fast driver. He's been challenging for that top spot for a number of laps here in the second half of the race. He's going to do it again. He looks to the inside, down into turn 3. The number 7, hoping that he could find the grip on that low side with that recent caution to let the track cool down once again. But as they exit the corner, it is a drag race down to 1, low side to Blade Witt, high side to Scott Crump. Neither of them really losing ground to the group behind, even though they're all single file. The 83 does get a decent run. Maybe just waiting patiently to see what these two do before he gets involved in this mess.
Crump's doing his best to try to hold Blade Witt down because he knows as soon as Blade Witt clears him, he's probably going to be off to the races. And he just can't quite clear him just yet, going into 1 and 2.
What a magnificent job by Crump. As they come off the corner, the 7 maybe tries to cover him off, but no, the 11 is going to cross over on him, seeing if he can take the low side away from him. He does get a nose in. He's given room down at the apex by the number 7 of Witt. As they come off the corner, the roles have switched. Now Blade has to hold the high side. He got awful close to the wall on the entry, using as much track as possible. This is the first time we've seen Blade fully clear, and has he got it? He has. Blade Witt into P1. Going to be 10 laps to go at the line. Blade Witt, your new leader, having started this race from 13th. In fact, there is nobody in the top 5 that started in the top 5. These are drivers who knew how to play the long game. Looking back from our leader, Blade Witt, on the number 11 of Scott Crump. If these two get into it, they are going to have trouble because they've got even more cars waiting patiently. Lopresto, Addison, McDaniel, all in a breakaway from the next car back in 6, which is Patrick Mallet. Who would have expected that Mallet would fall that far back after he was so close to the lead earlier?
I'm surprised he actually hasn't gained on those guys that much. I mean, the 2 tires, 4 tires there, that is they've been able to hang a lot longer than what I thought they would, but unless we get a caution here, I think this is Blade Witt's racing.
He said he'd be off to the races, and you were right. He's already extended it up to a 0.3 second gap back to P2. And in fact, I think Crump is less worried about the win now and more worried about staying on the podium, because Lopresto, ever since Crump got passed, has really been pressuring that number 11 car. Right on top of Lopresto, staying right in the tire tracks of the number 11. Laps are running out. Now Scott Crump looks like he's gathered himself together. Whatever was shaking him before has been left by the wayside. Behind them, though, we got a battle happening. You can see on screen Mallet is being hunted by Ryan Hartz.
And of course, those guys both now starting to run up the tail of that pack, almost to the back bumper of Patrick McDaniel.
Indeed, as now that Crump has started to pull away, it's a three-car fight for third. That's Lopresto, Addison, and McDaniel. Looking like a five-car fight, depending on what the 19 still got underneath them. Side by side for third now. Lopresto up high, Addison down low, seeing if he could take the podium. As he washes up high, he nearly gets into the side of 83. Don't want to finish under caution here, boys. Let's keep it safe. 5 laps to go now. And nobody seems to have anything for the number 7 Blade Witt. Scott Crump has pulled away from the battle for third, but is not gaining on our leader. You see the gaps that are being pulled from first to second and from second to third. Jeff Addison does manage to get by Lopresto, but here comes Patrick McDaniel. Going to demote to Lopresto one more. Mallet also looking on the high side. Is he going to make it 3 wide? He's sticking his nose in between them. He's thinking about it. Oh, what a big moment there for the number 25. Patrick McDaniel gathers it back together, but not without losing all of those places within the pack. That leaves Lopresto and Mallet to fight it out. Those two side by side for P4. Oh, the 83 nearly washing up into the outside of turn 4. But all the momentum that it cost him, with Ryan Hertz easily taking that spot away, moving into 5th. 2 laps to go now. There's really nobody anywhere near Blade Witt as he's extended it up to a 2nd. He does have a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him. That's Danny Jones. I don't think he'll catch him in time to put him a lap down as the white flag now comes out at him.
Yeah, just a fantastic end of the race drive from Blade Witt. Rounding 1 and 2, he's going around the lap car here of Danny Jones, and just phenomenal pace here at the end of this thing, clearing those guys, and I'll let you call it home, Joe.
It's been 134 laps, honoring the memory of David Cater, but today, to take the win, it is Blade Witt, the number 7, crossing the line in Chicagoland first. Scott Crump gets 2nd, beating out Addison just barely. Mallet does make his way back to 4th. 5th goes to Ryan Hartz. Who drives the race, John Lopresto from 18th to 6th. As the drivers stream across the line, not many battles farther down the order as they've now all crossed. So with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, and on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races. Keep Welcome back to Chicagoland. Thanks for joining us for Cater's final ride. It has been a wonderful race to honor the memory of David Cater, and Blade Witt was our winner in the end. You can see they're doing a little bit of a photo op there in the background. Scott Crump managed to get second place with Jeff Addison in third. Then it's Patrick Mallett taking P4 with Ryan Hartz finishing fifth. John Lepresto, a bit anonymous for most of the race, but a great run to sixth in the end. Patrick McDaniel takes P7 with William Amshoff, who was definitely in the mix for much of this race. He still finishes in eighth. Cody Griffin had some action on screen from ninth, and Todd Hendrick rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, Mark Herzog is going to come home in 11th after starting this race in 20th position. Back behind him will be Adam Sweet, who Adam Sweet himself was up 15 spots from the start of this thing. Tom Oak is out there for 13th, 14th, Roger Gregory 15th, Reese Baum 16th, Brian Sibley 17th, Kyle Amon 17th, or 18th, Jim Walton 19th, Danny Jones, and 20th will be Nick Hurd, who stuck this thing out to the end of the race, Joe.
Yeah, an impressive comeback, I thought I said one lap down. It does not. That was his grid position I was looking at. So it's not an impressive comeback for poor Casey Kerwin, who was our first DNF of the day, it looks like, finishing 21st with Patrick Baird coming home 22nd. Then it's Bobby Childs in 23rd. Ian White finishes 24th with James Heater in 25th. P26 goes to Brandon Peters. 27th winds up in the hands of Michael Bianchini, with Mark Nadeau finishing 28th. 29th, McKinney Lowry, David Morin 30th, and John Dickert finishing in 31st. 34 starters out there today, but we've got some drivers to talk to. Fifth place finisher Ryan Hartz is going to join us first. Ryan, welcome to the booth. You were kind of in the mid-pack for much of the race, and then suddenly at the end, you found yourself in contention. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, definitely. First off, I want to say thank you to iRacing for putting this race on. David Morin for putting this race on. It was an awesome tribute to David. Want to say I'm sorry for everybody that's part of David's family. I can't imagine what they're going through. But yeah, I was in the middle of the pack for most of the race. Thought I was like a 7th, 8th place car, but when I saw Casey get wrecked and we got put a lap down, we just didn't have enough time. But overall, great race.
Talk about that battle after the last restart, because you from a second back down, I'd say about 7th, all were just mashed together. It looks like you couldn't get away from one another.
On the final restart, I was planning on just following Patrick. I knew he had a fast car. He was running top 3 all night, and if I could just follow him, maybe we can get up to the top 3. But like I said, just ran out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a number of people that seem to want to talk to us, so we don't want to spend too long, but thanks for coming in. Any people that you want to thank, or any last thoughts before we let you go?
Definitely thank you guys. Thank you to iRacing again for putting this race on. David Morin, it was a great race, and thanks to Cody Griffin. He's been helping me all night, so thank you guys.
That was Ryan Hartz, our number 22, finishing 5th today. Up next, I believe we have McDaniel ready to talk to Blade Witt. Excuse me. Our winner is here, is ready to talk to Adam Young.
Hey, Blade, first things first. I mean, we want to go ahead and get to the point of what tonight was about. And did you know David Cater personally?
He joined our team in the past couple months, and he started. I work on Jeremy Davis's pro effort, and came on with us, and I was the spotter, and he was the crew chief for the last 2 races at Atlanta and Richmond, and I got to know him through those and some of our testing sessions and stuff, and always had an admiration for him. I learned to build setups through him, and he was just such an impact on the community.
Well, and I know it was a tough loss for you, losing him and everything, after only really getting close to him for a few months. But, you ran a whale of a race tonight in his memory. And I really want to talk to you about that last restart. You got a couple of guys that got up in front of you on pitch strategy, and you had to cut and dice through them to take the lead away. Tell us about those last couple laps, man.
Yeah, on that restart, I had a really big jump, more than I deserved, because car in front of me had to pit for a penalty, I presume, and I just kind of that gave me a good start to be able to make a pass to the first corner, and then Scott had a really good battle there.
All right. Well, hey, Blade, great job tonight. Wish it was under better circumstances, but man, you, like I said, you done great for David's memory, and I appreciate you being here, and hopefully we'll catch you around next time.
Guys, I appreciate it.
That was our winner, Blade Witt, talking to us. And up next, I think we've got the mic working of Garrett Mashburn, who's joined us in the booth once again. Garrett, you got a copy?
I think so this time.
All right. So same question as I asked you before. Did you know David personally, and what was your involvement in helping get this race set up?
So I had originally met David probably about 4 years ago, shortly after I joined iRacing. It was pretty raw getting into setups. And, like a lot of people had watched some of his videos on YouTube and tried to mimic what he did. And then I saw him in a race room and was kind of starstruck and like, oh gosh, am I really going to, ask this guy? And I was just kind of blown away of how humble and how confident he would talk and how willing he was to answer questions. And then like Blade was saying, about 2 or 3 months ago when David Morin told us that, hey, Cater's going to be joining our team, helping us with pro and whatnot. Again, kind of starstruck. Is like, wow, I get to actually work with this guy. A guy who's, contributed so much to iRacing and did whatever it took to be as patient as possible to explain to everyone, this is how you do this, to help us make us all faster. So for the last 2 or 3 months was an honor to get to work with him. And we're glad, David and I are glad that we got to put this together to honor his life. And it's been a very hectic week trying to make sure all of our I's were dotted, T's were crossed to make sure everything went smooth. But overall, we think it was a great race to attribute to him.
Oh, we had a joy calling it up here. We thought it was a fantastic race, and I think a really big thank you needs to go to yourself and David Morin for all that you did. Like you said, rushing to get this set up so quickly, and I think you guys did a phenomenal job organizing this, and all the drivers were super respectful out there today. Is there anyone else you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go? We've got a few more drivers we want to talk to.
Definitely James Heater. He was definitely a backbone in helping put all this together, as was Eric Smith. Everyone on low line was instrumental in helping keeping us calm, making sure we were making the right steps to make this as great as we possibly could. And to Cater for doing most of the legwork and making the setup.
Yeah, even in his passing, he helped with the race, and God, that's got to feel special for all the drivers. That was Garrett Mashburn, one of his teammates. And up next, we have Scott Crump, second place finisher, just shy Adams, talking to him.
Yeah, Scott. Hey, once again, of course, we're all here tonight for David Cater. Do you have a memory or something to share about David?
Yeah, well, it was a good race tonight. See, David Cater, he joined our team a few months ago, and he was just a pleasure to work with. Helped out a whole lot. We were working together here at Chicagoland, so kind of meant a lot to me to race for him. So his last few laps, I just drove it as hard as I could, try and get a win. But my teammate Blade there won for low line racing, so we got one too.
So ultimately, it all worked out there in the end, and it was a pretty exciting race to call. I mean, I think you guys put on a really good show with for David's memory here tonight and everything, and it got pretty intense there right in the last stage of that race, last 20 laps. How did that feel from the driver's seat?
It was definitely enjoyable. I mean, I restarted fourth there. Got a good jump on the start. Took it 3 wide into turn 1. And then coming out of 2, still had a pretty good run. And then I made a pass for the lead on the front stretch. But I got in the wall early on, got some damage, so it was slowing me down a little bit. And Blade was able to catch me and pass me for the win.
All right. Well, hey, Scott, appreciate you stopping by, and we'll catch you around next time.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Up next, we have Cody Griffin waiting to talk to us. He finished 9th out there today, having started 11th. So a couple position gains. But Cody, the thing for me was watching early on in the race. You seem to really be moving forward.
Yeah, we had a good race going. Had a really fast Chevy Z01. Just seemed like towards the latter part of the race, the track started to grip up a little bit, and it was a little bit harder to find grip around the racetrack. But we definitely come up through the field pretty quick, I felt like, and saw a great event.
Absolutely. And we've been asking a lot of the drivers if they have any personal memories or thoughts on David Cater. Was there anything about your time having an experience with him?
Yeah, actually, back when I first got on the service back in 2013, 2014, I come up through the ranks pretty quick, and I had an iRating where I was making top split in trucks and all that stuff. So here I was 14 or 15 years old, and everybody's talking about setups, and I seen this guy, his name was David Cater, and I keyed up on the mic, with my 14-year-old squeaker voice, and asked for some help, and David helped me, so it just kind of shows what kind of guy he was. We all loved him on the sim. We're really going to miss him. It's funny, we were in the practice room practicing for tonight, and somebody said, wow, I made top split, but some people didn't get to qualify, and somebody said, well, that's because somebody didn't qualify. And he said, well, I felt like I accomplished something when he qualified for top split. I said, we all accomplished something. We were friends with David. So that's pretty much where everybody stands. We're going to miss him.
Yeah, and I can only imagine for those close to him how heartbreaking this whole thing has been. But it's been really awesome to see so many great memories coming out and all the positive talk and all the great impact that he's had. And what a great mark he's left on iRacing, which hopefully will go out to the racing community in general, just continuing to spread that positivity. Again, a great race out there, Cody. Thanks for coming and talking to us. And hopefully we'll see you again here on GSRC.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Going to try to run for my pro next year. So hopefully I'll get to see y'all sometime then. But thanks to everybody that viewed in, and rest in peace, David.
Absolutely. Cody Griffin, 9th place finisher out there today. Next one, real quick, we want to get one before we close out with David Morin, the organizer. Mark Herzog. Mark Herzog going to be talking to Adam Young.
Yeah, we go ahead and got Mark Herzog in here for today. And Mark, hey, great to see you out there, man, representing Alliance. And, I don't know, did you know David personally, David Cater?
No, I did not. I've seen him post on the forums. I've seen his videos, and he's got a very large reputation within the iRacing community, which I'm sure is surely deserved.
And obviously his impact has been felt far and wide just from a lot of those forum posts. And glad you were able to get out here and support him. And just real quick, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your day, man. You had a pretty eventful day out there. Seemed like you were in the thick of it the entire race.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to do a lot of practicing, so I just kind of ran at my pace, and it worked out well. I ended up in the top 15 and had a couple of scares, but everybody was real respectful, and I think they were carrying on the ethos that David has, is where you race hard but you race clean.
Well, it seemed to work out because there was definitely a lot of clean driving out there here for today. Hey, Mark, appreciate you stopping in and talking to us, man, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, and my condolences to the Cater family.
And we wanted to talk to David Morin, but unfortunately found out he does not have a mic working right now, which is unfortunate. We'll have him on the screen at the least. He did type out a message that he wanted me to share with everybody. He says, I just want to thank everyone involved. We can organize all we want, but it doesn't happen without the participants. He says, I have to do one more final count, but we've raised over $800 for his family. And he wanted everybody to know that over $800. That is fantastic. I'm sure that will mean a whole lot to them as well as this broadcast itself. And honestly, on a personal note from here at GSRC, we wanted to do this because of the impact that we saw that he had on the community. So we wanted to do what we could to kind of help his family in their process of mourning by having this positive experience here with the broadcast. So with that, we are going to close here today and wrap things up. We again want to thank David Moore and all the drivers out there today, everybody who contributed to making this race happen, as well as everybody that contributed to the GoFundMe. You can still go and do that now if you want. Again, if you go down into the description of this YouTube video, there is a link to the GoFundMe. You can go there and donate for a little while more. And help the Cater family out. Also, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network. They help bring this to life and bring this to a lot more viewers. We give a huge thank you to iRacing for doing that. Again, this was last second, and they did a wonderful deed by making sure as many eyeballs as possible got to see this race. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and Julian Lond, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you head on over to GSRC's YouTube page, there's a big red button there as well. If you're not subscribed, you'll see it at least. If you are subscribed, it'll be great. But make sure and hit that, and you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so excuse me, we don't have other series listed on the screen, so don't mark those down on your calendar. We do have another race going on GSRC right now, which is the Lionheart race, and that is also on the iRacing Esports Network. So make sure and jump over to go watch the finale over there, being hosted by Brian Yazik and Richie Hearn. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
you